obsessed with her own ego and playing the victim.
You've hijacked this name from Queen Elizabeth. The least you can do is respect this woman, respect her institution, respect her.
Megyn Kelly didn't come to play. She didn't whisper, she didn't tiptoe, she looked straight into the camera and dropped the question. No one in mainstream media dared ask, is Meghan Markle really 44 or is she over 50? Boom. One explosive line tore open a rumor that had been simmering for years, and the moment it aired, the internet lost it. Because this wasn't just throwaway gossip, it was about documents, timelines, and photos that don't line up with the official royal story. It all starts with one photo, Northwestern University, early 2000 seconds. Megyn smiling in a salsa club group shot, surrounded by her classmates. At first glance, harmless, just another college memory. But here's the kicker, those same classmates are now openly in their early 50 seconds. We're talking 52, 53, even 54. Yet Megyn's official biography insists she's 44. Do the math. If her timeline is true, then she was a young freshman surrounded by people nearly a decade older. Rare? Maybe. Possible? Technically. Believable? That's where the story starts to unravel. Asterisk, asterisk.
Us to love her, so she will do whatever it takes, and she doesn't know how to make us.
You know, because the math? Oh, it's messy. Alumni records keep tying Megyn back to the same names, the same circles, and when those classmates gather now at reunions, the age gap is glaring. Megyn, the Duchess of Sussex, officially listed as a whole generation younger, yet the paper trail keeps her locked in their orbit. Maybe coincidence. But when it happens again and again, coincidence starts looking a lot like a pattern. And here's where it gets juicier. Megyn's official birth date, the 4th of August, 1981, is carved into royal archives, echoed endlessly in glossy magazines, written like gospel. But whispers? They've lingered for decades. Some say 1977. Others whisper 1975. If that's true, Megyn isn't 44, she's 48, maybe even 50. That's not just Hollywood age shaving. That's 4 to 6 years erased from her story, and those missing years, they aren't just numbers. They're experiences, relationships, choices, whole chapters never included in the polished version of Meghan Markle's life. And when you're part of the royal machine, every little inconsistency has the power to explode into scandal, which brings us straight to the palace. Because if you thought official royal documents were untouchable, Meghan's history has already proved otherwise.
Any respect for the institution she married into, she'd stop using it like a content.
Insert clip from 245 to 251. Flashback to May 2019. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor's birth certificate is officially filed in the UK. At first glance, it looks perfectly standard. Rachel Megyn, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Clean, formal, permanent, or so the world believed. But just weeks later, suddenly it's changed. Megyn's given names, Rachel and Megyn, completely erased. What remained? Only the title. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. The palace tried to dismiss it, calling the edit nothing more than housekeeping, a way to align the document with those of other royal mothers, but insiders didn't buy it. To them, it was bizarre. Why alter it after the fact? Why not Kate? Why not Diana? That small tweak sent a much bigger message. Even royal paperwork, the kind people assumed was sacred and unshakable, could be rewritten without warning. For Megyn's critics, this became Exhibit A. If something as official as a birth certificate could be quietly altered, what else could be reshaped? High school rosters, alumni directories, maybe even a birth year? Suddenly, nothing seemed untouchable. And then came the stranger part. Most celebrities have a mountain of old snapshots, prom night candids, awkward yearbook photos, grainy graduation shots. But Megyn's archive? It feels strangely curated. Polished, a perfect high school headshot, magazine ready. Group photos that never surface randomly, but instead appear at carefully chosen moments, like in royal biographies or puff piece interviews. Fans began to notice. Every time her past was questioned, like clockwork, an old photo would appear less like nostalgia, more like PR strategy. That's when the online detectives took over. Reddit lit up with side-by-sides. TikTok creators stitched Megyn Kelly's explosive question into yearbook scans, circling dates, replaying receipts. What began as whispers on gossip blogs suddenly went mainstream. Headlines multiplied. Insiders question Megyn's birth year. Old photos reignite age debate. Royal records spark confusion. Each headline only made the rumors harder to ignore. By early 2025, when Samantha Markle, Megyn's estranged sister, revived her defamation lawsuit, the debate over Megyn's real age wasn't just a passing rumor. It had exploded into a viral obsession. The obsession only grew. Supporters rushed to Megyn's defense, calling the age debate nothing more than cruel nitpicking. They argued Hollywood has always shaved a few years to land roles. Nothing new, nothing scandalous. But critics saw something far darker. Another carefully crafted example of Megyn's narrative control. To them, this was the same kind of spin that once pushed her and Harry out of the royal family. And for the rest of us, casual onlookers scrolling through reunion listings, TikTok timelines, and endless Reddit threads, the question lingered. Could all these contradictions really just be coincidence? Because the whispers about Meghan Markle's real age kept circling back to one stubborn number, 1,977. It surfaced in alumni chatter, in old event programs, even in memories from people who swore they knew her long before the palace gates ever opened. Some went further, 1,976, even 1,975. And if any of that was true, Megyn wasn't 44 at all. She was 48, maybe 49, possibly even the big 5 to 0. Now, in Hollywood, shaving a couple years has always been part of the game. From Marilyn Monroe to Sandra Bullock, stars have blurred the math for decades to stay in the right bracket. But Megyn's case, it hit differently. Because she didn't just remain an actress, she became a duchess. And when you step into royalty, those paper trails aren't supposed to blur. They're supposed to be airtight, permanent, unshakable. And yet, here we are. Think about it. If Megyn's real birth year was 1977, it shifts everything. Her teenage years moved to the mid-90 seconds, not the early 2000 seconds. Her Northwestern timeline changes. Her early acting gigs, even her first marriage. We're not talking about a slight adjustment. We're talking about a total rewrite of where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing. 4 years may sound small, but in Megyn's carefully polished narrative, it's a canyon. By now, it wasn't even about birthdays. It was about credibility. And once credibility cracks, good luck patching it up. That's exactly why, by early 2025, Megyn wasn't just battling Samantha Markle in court, she was fighting the ghosts of every rumor that had ever clung to her name. Samantha's revived defamation lawsuit didn't just paint Megyn as the estranged sister spinning lies. It collided directly with the age scandal in real time. Articles covering the case couldn't resist. They slipped in lines about the birth year debate, blending the family feud with the timeline mystery. Suddenly, Megyn's defense wasn't about truth. It was about her truth versus the timeline's truth. And that's the cruel irony. Megyn has always branded herself as a woman who stands in her truth. But the more she leaned on those words, the louder her critics shouted about the missing years. 4 years blurred here, 6 years missing there. It became a math problem no PR team could solve. The press? They feasted. Tabloids looped Megyn's most famous soundbites about authenticity, then spliced them with Megyn Kelly's viral question. Mainstream outlets ran side-by-side breakdowns, mapping her Northwestern years against her older classmates. And even the late-night comedians couldn't resist the punchlines. Couldn't resist. One late-night host quipped, "We've discovered the 8th wonder of the world, Meghan Markle's birth certificate. It changes every time you look at it." The effect on her brand was immediate. Public figures live and die by control of image, of narrative, of story, and Megyn had mastered that art for years. Until now. Because once a single crack shows, every resurfaced photo, every alumni listing, every rumor suddenly looks like another fracture. According to sources who spoke with the Daily Mail, her team was frustrated but frozen. Unsure whether to tackle the issue head-on or to hope it fizzled out, they chose silence. But silence, in a scandal, only makes the noise grow louder. And in that silence, the narrative spun wildly out of control. Online, the divide sharpened into two warring camps. Supporters launched hashtags like #MegynTruth, insisting the age debate was nothing more than sexist nitpicking, punishing a woman for the simple act of aging. They pointed to Hollywood's long history of tearing down women for something men escape with ease. Critics fired back with hashtags like #MarkleMath, mocking the arithmetic of her timeline, with memes side-by-sides of Megyn next to classmates nearly a decade older, timelines scribbled with red circles, captions dripping with sarcasm. For every fan arguing the controversy was petty, another shouted that it symbolized everything wrong with her carefully crafted story. If even her age wasn't stable, how could anything else be trusted? And that's where the cultural clash cut deepest. In Hollywood, age blurring is an open secret. But in the royal world, every date, every record is treated as history. Diana's birth certificate is archived. Kate's paperwork is preserved. Permanence is the monarchy's oxygen. Meghan's alleged age gap made her an outlier, the Duchess whose biography read less like history and more like a studio script. As the trial loomed, the scandal wasn't just Meghan's anymore. It reflected on the crown itself. If a duchess's details could bend, what did that say about the institution sworn to uphold truth and legacy? By the time Meghan Markle entered 2025, the whispers had grown into something far larger. The age debate had ballooned into a cultural litmus test. Was she the victim of cruel, obsessive nitpicking, or the architect of a carefully engineered narrative built on shaky details? The public split down the middle. But one point united everyone: this scandal wasn't going away. Industry insiders admitted the shadow was following her. A former studio executive told Variety, "In Hollywood, shaving a few years is forgivable. But in royalty, records are legacy. Once doubt creeps in, it corrodes. And that corrosion has already begun." And the ripple effects were undeniable. Projects with Netflix, once sold on authenticity, now faced subtle side-eye. Public appearances that should have quieted the noise only gave Twitter fresh ammunition threads, dissecting how timeless Megyn looked, compliments weaponized into accusations. Her defenders called it proof of a double standard, pointing to Jennifer Lopez and Halle Berry, both nitpicked endlessly over age yet still celebrated. But critics pushed back harder. This isn't about looks. This is about truth. If her age isn't real, what else isn't? That question spread like wildfire. Supporters and skeptics clashed online, their debates fueling the very visibility Meghan's team hoped would fade. And the monarchy, they didn't escape untouched. If Archie's birth certificate could be amended so casually, what else might bend under pressure? Even BBC commentators called the affair a crack in the facade. Because if palace documents weren't unshakable, then perhaps the monarchy itself wasn't either.